A rough day for the Prime Minister today because he's facing another by-election after MP Chris Skidmore announced he will resign as soon as possible.
Yeah, he's the former Energy Minister, planning to step down when Parliament returns next week because of new legislation for oil and gas drilling, which he says is wrong and will cause future harm.
The government says the planned expansion of new fossil fuels in the North Sea is vital to achieve energy security plans. Meanwhile, it's going to be a very busy year for politicians as the leaders of the prospective parties have already outlined their messages to voters this week.
My working assumption is we'll have a general election in the second half of this year.
So I promise this, a new mindset, mission government, an understanding at the core of everything we do, that it is our job to tackle tomorrow's challenges today.
2024, the year the voters finally get to pack up this awful, out-of-touch Conservative government. Throw their disastrous policies into the skip.
Starmageddon is a risk near you in 2024. Prime Minister, you're not allowed to continue to run the country.
Let's talk to our political correspondent, Katherine Forster, who's here in the studio with us this morning. Let's talk about Mr Skidmore to begin with, should we? Why can't he's stepping down as an MP anyway at the next general election. Why can't he just hang on rather than actually put us all to the expense of a by-election?
Well, people in the government, of course, rather cross with Chris Skidmore today for exactly that reason. Yet another by-election, that's 3. There's going to be one in Wellingborough, there's going to be one more than likely in Blackpool South, and now Wellingborough. Basically, Chris Skidmore has decided that he just can't take it anymore. He was standing down anyway, but there is this vote in Parliament on Monday. Parliament comes back on Monday, the offshore petroleum licensing bill, basically about increasing the amount of oil and gas that we produce from the North Sea. Chris Skidmore was Energy Minister under Boris Johnson. He did a big net zero review. He feels very passionately that this is the wrong move. He says the future will judge harshly those that vote for this bill next week. And so he's saying he's resigning the Conservative whip. He wants to stand down as soon as possible. It poses all sorts of problems for the government. Another by-election. He had a 11,000 majority.
This is Kingswood in Gloucestershire.
Kingswood in Gloucestershire. So 11,000 in normal times would be safe, but we've seen Labour overturn 24,000 majorities in Mid-Bedfordshire. The other problem is that this seat is going to cease to exist at the next general election because of boundary changes. So whoever gets this seat, A, will only have it for a few months because there's a general election, and B, the seat's going to disappear anyway, so who would want it? So a real headache for Rishi Sunak, who obviously, new year, new start, hoped to get off on the front foot. He did manage to get a lot of headlines by saying the general election will be more than likely in the second half of the year, which I think most of us suspected anyway.
I've still got money on May.
Have you really?
Yeah.
OK. Well,
I think he's playing a game.
I reckon a week or two after November the 5th election in the States. So let's see,
We'll see.
I mean, Labour certainly are going to be ready for a May election just in case. And he did say working assumption, so he hasn't really closed anything down. But he was in Stockport yesterday. He was booed. He's obviously been criticised for not turning up at the floods. You could argue that that wouldn't be helpful, but, you know, perhaps people feel that he doesn't care or isn't as involved as he should be. And now this. So not the best start for this election year.
It's an easy goal for the Labour Party, though, isn't it, when they're now saying, oh, he's asleep at the wheel when it comes to the flooding and what needs to be done on flood defences. When we heard from Andy, the pub landlord, before, saying the government does need to get more and push more through. But this is this is proving to be an easy hit for the Labour Party.
Of course, but, you know, this is politics. They would, wouldn't they? And certainly the Environment Agency targets that they had in terms of additional homes they were going to be able to protect, those targets have been cut by 40% since they were announced in 2020. But, you know, we get a lot of rain. We're getting increasingly a lot of rain in a short period of time. And it does feel, presumably to all the people who are losing houses, businesses, going to be in temporary accommodation for months. I know Rishi Sunak said that there's plenty of people on the ground for the Environment Agency, there's plenty of pumps, but we're seeing this over and over again. And sure, we always get flooding, but it does seem to be happening more. Plenty of houses built on floodplains.
What about
et cetera.
farmers? I mean, the NFU is now calling for compensation for farmers because they're losing so much. There's talk of possible vegetable shortages. We've seen livestock drowning in the floods.
Yeah, desperate, isn't it? I mean, large parts of England literally underwater. My father was going across the country on a train the other day from London back to Yorkshire, and he just said it was incredible, you know, looking out at
You
the
can't
windows,
see what's the
it's
river
water.
and what's the field.
Yeah, exactly. And now, so the rain has stopped for now, but it's now going to be very cold, so we're going to have different challenges. So, yeah, a difficult start for the year. Meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer setting out his stall. Richard Tice, the leader of Reform. So Ed Davey with his removals van. Everybody... We're going to have a long year of politics, aren't we? I mean, MPs are not even back.
Yeah, we are. You're going to be very busy, as are we all,
Oh, yeah.
as we said. Katherine, thanks very much indeed.